It's not every day you see something that only happens once in 100,000 births, but on a quiet farm in Western Australia, one veteran farmer found himself in the middle of a moment so rare, so heart-stirring, that he knew it would be talked about for generations. If you've ever believed that life still has the power to surprise you, this is one story you won't forget. This is Zoic Animals, where we bring you true stories that make the ordinary feel extraordinary. If you haven't already, subscribe for more moments that stay with you long after the screen fades to black. David had been farming this stretch of red Western Australian soil for over 40 years. He'd seen births, storms, droughts, everything life in the bush could throw at a man. But Nessie was different. She was the one he always looked for first on morning rounds, the one who nudged his jacket pocket for treats when she thought no one was looking. And Nessie had a gift. Twice in her life, she'd defied the odds, delivering twins like it was nothing. David never forgot those nights, how he'd stayed awake in the barn, listening to the soft, wet sounds of newborn calves finding their first breath. But this morning, something in her stance, in the urgent flick of her tail, told him this wasn't going to be an ordinary birth. It was just after 9 a.m. when he and his farmhand, Callum, spotted her in the far paddock, legs trembling. David dropped everything, literally leaving his half-drunk coffee on the gatepost, and they hurried across the field. Nessie's breathing was ragged now, her dark eyes wide and wet. The first calf came quickly, a healthy, slippery little bull that tumbled into the straw and began kicking at the air. Relief washed over them, but before they could even cut the cord, Nessie shifted, lowering her head with another deep push. The second one arrived in minutes. 2 calves, twins. Impressive, yes, but nothing they hadn't seen before. David exchanged a knowing grin with Callum, ready to settle the newborns, but then Nessie's body tensed again. It was too soon for afterbirth. David's mind raced. Could she? No, surely not. Another calf slid into the straw, blinking against the sudden light. 3. David felt the hair on the back of his neck prickle. The odds of triplets were astronomically low, but Nessie wasn't done. By the time the 4th calf arrived, tiny, trembling, but alive, David just stood there, boots sunk into the hay, trying to process what had just happened. 4 living, breathing calves. His hands shook as he checked their airways, rubbed their slick coats, and whispered nonsense words meant to coax them into life. The barn filled with sound, the thin, uncertain bleats of the calves mixing with Nessie's low, guttural breaths. Callum was already running for clean towels, his boots thudding on the dirt floor. They worked in a rhythm born of urgency, drying, warming, checking. One calf was slow to stand, its spindly legs splaying awkwardly on the straw. David cupped its head gently in his hands, willing it to find the strength. Outside, the midday sun broke through, sending shafts of light through the open barn door. Dust motes danced in the warm beams, and for a moment, the world outside seemed impossibly still. By nightfall, all 4 calves were feeding. Nessie stood tall, sides heaving, eyes half closed in that tired, satisfied way only a new mother could wear. David leaned against the wall, his clothes damp, his back aching, but his heart so full it almost hurt. In his lifetime, he knew he might not see this again. 1 in 100,000, the experts said. But to David, it wasn't about the statistics. It was about standing there, in that quiet barn, surrounded by the warm, earthy smell of hay and life, knowing he'd just witnessed a miracle that would live on in the story of the farm for generations. And somewhere out in the paddock, under the fading light, 4 tiny calves took their first unsteady steps into a world they weren't supposed to share. Proof that even in the most ordinary places, the extraordinary can still find a way in.